Pacers and Knicks. It will be a fun and tough one, but what advantages will the Pacers have? At least a perceived advantage will the Pacers have in this series? Rhett Bauer is going to join me to break down quite a few that we think the Pacers can try to ride to a series victory on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, much to discuss about the Pacers and their advantages they will have or look to have against the New York Knicks in this series. Rhett Bauer is going to join me to break down like 5, 6, 7 of them. We got into quite a few. Who is a specific Knick going to guard? How will the pace matter in this series? The obvious discussion of the bench of the Pacers versus the smaller bench for the Knicks, and so many more things about the series that will matter. Tomorrow, we'll dive in looking at game one and how that will make a series flow like it has for the rest of the Pacers series in this playoffs, and then it's time for games. But today we're looking at Pacers advantages with Rhett Bauer. Let's just get right to it. The eve of Pacers Knicks. It's approaching. The conference finals are almost here. Tonight, the conference finals start with the West for some reason, which stinks. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Pacers and Knicks don't care. They will be amped to have another day. And I am amped to have another day to preview the series because that means I get to talk to Rhett Bauer, who's finally back here during the playoffs to talk about a series that will be epic, fun, exciting, all of the above. And today, the usual series preview where I try to dive into some of the advantages I think the Pacers will have in the Knicks, perhaps their toughest test yet. Rhett, you are a man who is not looking forward to a beer after the season because the Pacers are still playing. How are you?
I am great. I kept waiting for, a series to get close to bring in the closer, and then the series never got close to really need to bring in the extra motivation for the team for me to actually close out a series in the way we did last year. So I'm happy to be here for the front end, and rivalry basketball started back up.
It's as good as it gets. The WWE part's funny, even though Brunson and Haliburton like each other. The history's fun. And it's two teams that their last finals trip came against each other. It's two teams that were close in record this year and probably believe this is their best finals chance in ages. Like, it's just awesome. It's fun. It's exciting. And every little advantage is going to matter. I told Rhett to come with some. I have my own. A lot of them are going to be overlap, which is good, so I can knock them off my list as he goes. And I also told Rhett he could go first. Rhett, give me an advantage you see for the Pacers in this series.
The first one is very obvious, but I am not going to choose the obvious one. I'm going to say Rick Carlisle.
Oh, I like that. Okay, go ahead.
So
Tibbs is having a good playoffs, though.
He is because he's been he defaults to the one thing that he does, and it keeps working. So yes, he's doing well in that. But I think that if you put Carlisle and Tibbs next to each other in a series that I think you and I both think is going to go a long ways, I trust Carlisle to make not only in-game adjustments a little bit better, but also series-long adjustments a lot better, which I think are going to be necessary as we deal with Brunson, as the Pacers end up dealing with potential Mitchell Robinson, Karl Anthony Towns front court type of deal. I think the Knicks have very few trump cards, quote unquote, that they can play, and I think that the Pacers are better suited to either weather those or dictate the game so much that they can't play those than the Knicks have on the other side of things with Tibbs.
Yeah, last year, even just the big ones, like figuring out how to target Dante more often throughout the series, putting Nesmith on Brunson after the slower start in that. Even just stuff like that mattered a lot in last year's series, where it was very back and forth for the home team every single time. And I've seen that throughout the playoffs this year, where it's every time the Pacers hit a wall where they're like, oh, crap, how do we solve this thing? The Bucks switched their butts off in the second half of game 3. They come out ready for it in game 4. The Cavs had this goofy 3-2 also in game 3. They were ready for it game 4. They see a problem, they figure it out, right? And that's been very good for them in this playoffs and really for all of time with this team and this core and this coach. And that's a good thing against a team like the Knicks, who one that The part of this that is related to depth, and we might spoil or talk about depth later, is like you have more options for adjustments when you play more players. Like every time anybody would talk about the Denver Nuggets versus the Thunder, they'd be like, what adjustments do you see for the Nuggets? Everybody's like,
Play better.
I don't know. Yeah, they only have 6 guys who can do anything. So that the Knicks have really good players. Their top end talent's very good. When they mix one of McBride or Mitch with the starters, they're awesome, right? We already talked about that with Gavin Shaw. But that's it. That's like the end of their really strong hitting a lineup adjustments. Obviously, there's a bunch of tactical stuff you can do, but you're even more limited in what you can do tactically when you have less resources to do it. And he obviously is going to play his guys 38 minutes plus every night. So that's just one advantage for Carlisle. On top of that, I already think he's a sharp adjuster, is that he has way more resources to actually do it if he wants to, which matters in a series like this.
And of course, I say Carlisle versus Tibbs. It's the entire coaching staff. So obviously, credit to the Pacers coaching staff and all the adjustments that they make, of course, because I think that's a huge part of it is those behind the bench, paying attention to stuff and bringing film to the table for halftime adjustments. But just like I can't speak enough about how limited the Knicks options are that Tibbs can use. And his answer is just throw more minutes at his starters. And that going against stagnant teams or, relatively, not super experienced teams like Detroit and then what the Celtics ended up being and really struggled with. Like you can afford to just keep throwing your fastball over and over because they don't force you to do anything different. I think the Pacers can.
The Knicks had lots of injuries last year throughout the series, but they changed their lineup a few times along the way, like just on actual choices. I do wonder and have talked about if they would ever go McBride or Mitchell Robinson in the starting 5. Probably the guy out would be hard if that happened, but that's like all I can think of in terms of major switches they would make, and it'd still be the same general rotation and lots of minutes to one guy or the other. But that's just like if the starting 5 is getting killed at the start of a game, you have to do something like that. But yeah, I'll be fascinated by the coaching battle. I think Tibbs is a good coach. I was surprised so many people were like, yeah, would the Knicks fire him if they have a bad playoffs? I'm like, he kind of has like the perfect team for what he's good at. But like even Tyrese Haliburton was talking about him being a little older school, or the Knicks in general, in their style of how much they play their guys and all that stuff. That's not to say old school's worse. If it fits your team, it fits your team. It's just the perception of him, and that will be a big deal in this playoffs. But like he's a championship coach. He's very good. All right, let's do the obvious one, Rhett.
Yep.
Let's talk about pace. It's in the name for the Indiana Pacers. Here's what has to be stated about this. Pace is only an advantage for the Pacers if the game is at their speed, obviously. That becomes an advantage for the Knicks if it is at their speed. So far in the playoffs, granted, the Bucks are not as good as the Knicks, and the Cavs didn't play as well as the Knicks have in the playoffs. The Pacers have had a little problem making the game be at their tempo, right? Their quick offensive possessions, keep the ball moving, pass, move, with McConnell on top and on the floor. They're still playing fast, even though they're not quite as effective as the starting 5. They have been almost always set in the terms of engagement for a game or a series with the pace. Infrequently, it has not gone their way. This is the most dramatic difference in pace between the Pacers and their opponent from the regular season, right? The Bucks were like, Cavs are a little faster than that. The Knicks are slow, right? And that suits them. I'm not saying that's bad, but it's possible that the games slow down a bunch and the Knicks are like, sweet, we're happy with this. So pace, should the Pacers continue to be able to set it the way they want, like they have for much of the playoffs, would be an advantage for them. They're more comfortable playing that way. I asked Haliburton about it today. He said the key to that, which makes sense to me, is defense. You have to get stops to be able to hit the open floor. Then you can score easier. You can set your own defense. We saw that in effect a lot in the Cavs series. Just given the Pacers' playoff success, I find it more credible to me that the games would be played at their pace. We saw some Pistons pace dictation in the first round that the Knicks overcame. I think that will be an advantage for the Pacers, but they can't. If it becomes a disadvantage, they're in a lot of trouble. But right now, I see it being an advantage.
I mean, the biggest thing that they can do is just wear the crap out of them. Like, even if they're not getting anything out of it, I'm not saying you have to drive in transition with the intent to either get a layup or draw a foul, and you just start throwing random stuff out there and you end up not getting a foul. Now you miss a layup going the other way. Like that pace will work against you if you're wild and reckless. But on the other hand, if you can just be like, get them to take 5 more steps every possession at a speed that isn't their speed, and you will probably end up winning this series by the time 6-7 games of that rolls around, because I just don't think that there are a lot of teams that can actually hang with the Pacers when they play their style, and we haven't seen anybody really shut them down either, even for an entire game. There have been stretches where it seems like the Pacers are just like in a funk, and they'll get down 19 points, but then they'll come back in the same game 3 times in a series. And so the pace is going to be absolutely fascinating, and I think that's one huge part of where my next one is going to come into play. Not to move on, but the pace and the depth go hand in hand, because even if the depth of the Pacers is not as effective as like maintaining what the starters do, at the very least, if CJ McConnell, you're picking up Brunson 94 feet, you are in his shorts the second that ball goes through the rim, or the second he gets it in the backcourt. And that's just, if that's the way to be effective, you just wear him down, then that's what you have to do.
Yeah, the wear down effect's been a big common word phrase playing against the Pacers in this playoff so far. They have the highest pickup point on defense of any team. We all know about their offensive pace. Like, I can just watch them play and tell you they play faster. I talked about the passes this week. Like, you have to move a lot on defense because the ball's moving a lot, and they don't turn it over in that style, which is so hard to do. If every team could pass the ball a gazillion times and never turn it over, they would. Like, everybody recognizes why it works. It's just hard. And then what you're talking about, like, they're down 19 and they go on this run. Like, those crush you if you're an opponent physically and mentally, because the Pacers score by whipping the ball around a million times, and then immediately you're being pressed. You're like, ugh, and then you guys don't score. And then the Pacers score again. And then you turn around and Andrew Nembhard's in your face again. And you're like, again, this guy's up here again. Like, I'm 70 feet from the basket. And then you're looking up and calling for help. And like, yeah, that like physically that wears down teams. And some teams have fought through it. Like the Celtics had no trouble fighting through it last year in the conference finals. But it's also like a mental thing. It's just like, oh, again, like, oh, God, again, I got to do this again. And that's why the pace battle is so important to me, because if the Knicks are setting that engagement, it's the Pacers be like, oh, we got to score against this set defense again. Like, oh, we got to try to stop this 18-second possession again. And it's so deflating to defend for that long and still have Jalen Brunson just like wiggle his way into a shot that only he's comfortable with. So the pace will be really important, but that wear down effect, and that comes with the bench being a part of it, because they keep the tempo up. They keep playing that style, albeit far less effective for much of this playoffs. They've had a lot of up and down guys, for better or worse. Helps them a lot, and it's helped them a lot so far. So if they can, the bench was really good against the Knicks last year. Like, if that can be a thing again, that's going to be huge.
Yes, no question. And that's, the
move to the bench if you want to.
Yeah, let's go. Let's move into the bench.
Everybody, a quick break to talk about CarGurus. Shopping for cars should be exciting, not exhausting, but between the confusing prices and hidden fees, it can feel overwhelming. That's why I love using CarGurus. They help you cut through the noise and show you the best deals with full confidence. With over 4 million listings, CarGurus has more new and used cars than any other major online marketplace in the U.S. They verify dealers, provide real price analysis, and give you the tools and data you need to make the right choice without second-guessing yourself. They give you a deal you can trust. They give you price drop alerts so you know the perfect car is available for your budget. In-depth vehicle details. It's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows CarGurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with CarGurus.com. Go to CarGurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's CarGurus.com. CarGurus.com.
I think that, if the bench doesn't come to play, then that just means that the Pacers have to end up matching the Knicks starter for starter in the minutes load. And I don't think that plays to the Pacers' strengths very much, because that would probably mean that the Knicks are dictating the pace of the game, and that would be scary. So if you don't see, Mathurin, McConnell, hopefully not all at the same time. I just about listed off 5 bench players. If we see 5 bench players, it's like Adelman benching Jokic and Murray at the same time yesterday, or Game 7 or whatever that was. Anyways, the bench depth is just going to be so crucial. The Pacers have right now, they have 11 guys who have played in 8 or more games, and they've played more than 9 minutes a game. The Knicks have 7. They have 7. Cam Payne, has played 7 minutes, 6.9 minutes a game in 12 games. Precious Chua, 4.8 minutes a game.
Which is funny because Cam played a bunch in that game one against Detroit where he like won them the game. Yeah.
Yes. I wish I'll probably do it while you're talking next, just because now I'm so curious about like how much of his minutes logged for this playoffs was that single game. But yeah, it's just the bench. Like it's been such a superpower for the Pacers throughout the regular season, but it's just not really been there in the postseason. And if that continues, then that's an entire advantage taken off the table for one reason or another.
Yeah.
But there's options still. So maybe it's just about one player in that depth stepping up and being the eighth man that the Knicks don't have.
Yeah, that's huge. Like last year, McConnell was awesome in the series. Isaiah Jackson was very good against the Knicks. Not having him is going to be tough. He was really good. I'm having trouble remembering specifically how I felt about Toppin and Shepherd in that series, but that will be important. I think like you brought up Denver. I know everybody knows this, and this has been said about the Pacers a million times, but like combining what we just have all put together, Jokic goes out and like whether it's DeAndre Jordan or no center for the Nuggets, like they can't play the same way. They have to they can't do what they do when Jokic is on the floor. They have to try different stuff or score via different guys or like
they're barely playing basketball.
Yeah,
it's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's truly though. It's horrible. It's so bad. It's been a problem for them forever. They've tried like a million guys, Dario Saric, Mason Plumlee, whatever. The Pacers don't have that problem, which is part of what makes them so effective. Their bench has clearly been worse than last year. I don't think anybody would argue that. The stats make it pretty clear. But they play the same way, right? Which is very effective in a series like this, where they're going against the same 6 or 7 or whatever guys all the time. That's going to matter a lot. And I agree with you. They're going to need probably 2, but certainly 1 bench player to be quite good in much of this series. Like you could make an argument for lots of guys. Have fun running with Obi Toppin and for Karl Towns or Mitchell Robinson or whoever's going to be on him. McConnell's finally going to be guarded by somebody about his size for a lot of this series. He's had to deal with some bigger size, and he's been the guy that to me is either like peak or valley, no in between the whole playoffs. Yeah. And I think in theory that could help him. Mathurin has played very well against the Knicks this season. I predicted he could be an X factor yesterday. He just continues to figure out how to fit. He like you talked about playing an MSG today. It was pretty cool to hear him talk about his whole playoff experience. Like it could be any of them. I could make a case for any of them, but you just never know. These games have all taken on a different life. Like Obi had a great game 4 last series. McConnell was better earlier in the series. Mathurin was good in games 2 and 3. It's just got to be somebody every night, and they have the depth that could happen, but it has to happen. It can't not happen.
Right. And really, I think the guy that's going to be probably the most important that wasn't really mentioned in the list other than at the beginning is that Ben Shepherd, because if Nembhard and Nesmith end up getting in foul trouble against Brunson and Brunson's playing 43 minutes a game, like you're gonna run out of fouls and you're gonna run out of minutes. And if Shepherd can come in and spare those guys, even if it means putting him on there while Nesmith and Nembhard are still on the floor to be able to have them out there and run things, but not be running around with Jalen Brunson, that's so massive. But if you can't do that, then the options are basically y'all two, like you'll take turns and match minutes. So, I mean, Thomas Bryant could be another one just because the Pacers only have him as a backup center. But
it's become very obvious, no matter what everybody says, and no matter what the numbers say, if the other team's playing centers the whole game, Thomas Bryant's going to play.
And of all the like I guess obviously the Cavs playing Allen and Mobley, like that's a different beast. But they've got Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson. Like that's 48 minutes of.
What do you think of Precious too? Like Carlisle brought him up today. He's kind of a center.
He's kind of a center, but
he might play. I think he might be heard from in the series. It would not shock me.
I mean, as far as like running up and down the court, I wouldn't surprise me either. But that you might hear like when his name gets announced to check into the game.
Last year, okay, here's my memory of Precious Achiuwa. I'm so sorry, I just derailed everything we were saying. He his shoe came off in a game in MSG.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And Fred Katz sitting down the row from me tweeted Precious no Shua, and I died laughing. It was so good. It was so perfect. Like only his name makes that joke funny. He wasn't bad in the series, but like that is my Preston Chua member.
Oh man,
last year.
Shout out Fred Katz. He's
very good. He's very good at this job.
Yes. I mean, you have to be to come up with stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's just like the Pacers have depth, but then once you really start digging down into it, how much depth do they actually have to throw at what makes the Knicks good? And that's going to be what swings the series.
Yep. Shepard's interesting. Like last round, I actually don't think he defended as well as I thought he might, or that the Pacers maybe hoped.
Yep.
But Washburn talked about it last Friday. Like, even if he's not having the successful stops, that's part of the wear down effect. Is just this dude who never gives up, chasing you the whole possession, getting you around screens, like wearing you down a little bit.
Yep.
That will matter some. It's like Giannis a little bit with the foul stuff, like foul
yes,
twice if it happens, whatever. You're not playing more than 15 minutes anyway. He actually made threes last year in the Garden. I remember that because that's when I wrote a story about him. Like I agree, he'll probably be the 10th guy. Who knows how much he actually plays, but because it's Brunson and because he's playing a lot, he makes sense as the guy. Right, let's work through something with me. So this assignment / advantage for the Pacers is called who is Cat guarding? Who is Karl Towns guarding on the Pacers? In fact, I'm going to use this as my predictions for the matchup in the series because I don't know. Like, is anyone guarding their position on either team? Like, this is a very confusing matchup series. Here is my guess for how the Knicks line up in game one. Jalen Brunson will be on Aaron Nesmith. Do you agree?
Yes. Okay,
it's possible he's on Andrew Nembhard. I think OG.
I don't think they want to put him in action, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah. OG Anunoby on Pascal, Mikal Bridges on Tyrese Haliburton. Would you flip that or would you do that?
Nope, that's exactly right.
I think so too. So that means Karl Towns and Josh Hart are the two players left. They're not putting Josh Hart on Myles Turner to start the series. Let me rephrase that. They could do that if they think Turner's going to set a bunch of screens and then Cat's guarding Nembhard. But Tibbs is more traditional-y. So my guess is that the series starts with Karl Towns guarding Myles Turner, who's shooting very well in the playoffs and is setting good screens and is moving the ball. Myles Turner, you've been a very important player in both series so far. You are again, sir. And you have to. He's got to make threes. He's got to make Cat move. He's got to, they're going to switch. If they're going to switch, great. Cat's on a guard. If they're not going to switch, great. That's space created for somebody else with a good screen. If it's Josh Hart on him, great. Then either Andrew Nembhard now being guarded by Cat or like something else breaks of the chain I just said. So advantage for the Pacers is who is Cat guarding, and more so if it's Turner. Myles Turner, congrats. You've had two great series. You've done a really good job with important matchups. Can you do it again, sir?
Yep. That was one of the thoughts that I put out there was that Myles Turner and Andrew Nembhard two-way impact will likely be the thing that matters the most. Yeah. Because if Myles can not match Cat, because I don't think that's fair. But also,
that should not be the expectation.
No. I'm not saying it is. But like in terms of like two-way impact, it might be.
Got it.
It might be. And then the same thing for Nembhard. Like obviously, you are not going to match Brunson. That's not his job. But if he can slow Brunson down enough, and then also like sort of match Mikal Bridges on the offensive end somehow, then okay, now you're looking at that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
But in terms of like who's guarding the position, the trickle down effects and the dominoes are just going to be so fascinating because it wouldn't surprise me at all if you ended up seeing like Karl-Anthony Towns guarding Pascal and then OG just roaming.
I totally agree with that. That is this is so tricky. The reason that like I didn't think about that right away is because again we've talked about Tibbs being just a little more traditional in how he does things, but that makes sense to me as an option. He's been willing to put their 4 on Turner all the time, and that like seems like a way to mitigate a lot of the problems that we just described. But if OG's like the Pacers have been pretty good about dealing with roamers, but it's not easy. Like they found ways to make Mobley not roamy when he was when he was in that situation, but it's not easy. It's very tricky. And I think it'll change a lot. I think who's on who's going to change a lot. I want to run through that for the Pacers side, but that was a good point. One more break here, guys. We can talk about Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, boy, was I intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. It lives up to the hype. Everybody's dealt with issues with underwear at some point in their life, whether it's fit or comfort or finding the right style. Well, Skims will change all that. Their men's line offers something for everybody, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. Their stretch 3-inch boxer brief, great for traveling. good square cut 3-inch boxer brief. You hate when they're out of your cheeks. These do not do that. If you're a coach, if you're a traveler, if you're always on the move, Skims has found the perfect stretch 3-inch boxer brief for you. If you're working out, running errands, they're the most comfortable and reliable underwear you will ever own. Shop SKIMS Mens at skims.com/LockedOnNBA and in Skims stores. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Skims is the official underwear partner of the NBA, WNBA, and USA Basketball.
Yeah, no, the Pacers on defense too. I think Tyrese Haliburton is going to really have to step up defensively.
Who is your guess on who he's on? I have my list, but I want to know what you think.
I don't think he should guard Josh Hart.
That is my game one assumption, even though I don't necessarily know that I think that's what it should be.
Oh, okay. I think to start the series, yeah, you probably do, and just see what happens. Because if he like dominates the offensive glass because Ty's trying to leak out and go, you're gonna have to adjust. But I can really see, like, it's so hard. I don't know, because you don't really want him on McHale, because McHale is a shot maker and ball handler.
That's my second guess.
But then OG is just massive.
No, they can't do that.
No,
they can't do OG Brunson or Cat. They can't.
So then you get into questions like, do you trust the Pacers to try and play zone at all?
Yeah,
I don't.
True. Well, the answer is what you just said for the Knicks on the other side. Whoever's guarding Josh Hart does not guard Josh Hart. Right?
Well, right. Yeah.
The whole playoffs.
Yes.
And so that's why my guess, but again, Hart's an amazing rebounder. Like, you have to still know where he is.
Yes.
Okay, here's my guess is that Nembhard's on Brunson. Check. No one's going to disagree with that. To start the series, maybe they end up with Nesmith on him. Okay.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm shrugging. I'm already like, I guess. Here's my guess. Just given what we've seen other teams do, I think Nesmith on Towns, Siakam on OG, Haliburton on Hart, Turner on Bridges. But I would also understand if it was Haliburton on Bridges and Turner on Hart, like a lot of teams have done with the center on Hart, wing on Cat stuff. But I mean, it's just it's hard. It's really hard. And if you match up straight up, it's just not going to work. That won't make sense.
No. And that's the thing. Like, it, to me, I wonder what happened. Like, if you get Haliburton Brunson matched up, do you just let Brunson go by? Like, is there a way to turn that into the defense where it's like, as long as you're disciplined and you're not jumping at the pump fakes and the flailing and all that stuff, and you're not giving up the three, I trust the rest of the guys to be in rotation and sort of play 4-on-4 after. But I don't know. It's going to be so hard, especially when once the Knicks start to bring in, like, let's say they bring in Mitchell Robinson for Josh Hart. Well, I don't. No. You've got to go big for big.
But then Tyrese has to be on Mikal, OG, or Brunson, which is why I think Mikal is an option for him to start the series. But that's a big height, not a big height advantage. Ty's kind of tall, but like he's got that post fade going. He shoots above his head. Like, it's hard to guard that.
I think if you ever see that lineup start to come to fruition, you almost have to get Obi Toppin or Ben Shepherd in.
I think so too.
But again,
you want a minutes match? Like, are you freaking out?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's it doesn't make any sense. But
every missed shot is going to be hilarious in the series because no one will be guarding who guards them. Nope. Right. So everyone's gonna be like, oh crap, wait, where do I go? Who do I have?
Chaos.
Like, I talked about that with Gavin yesterday. It's gonna be so interesting.
Well, but then too is like, are the Knicks gonna be crashing the offensive glass? Because there could be 4 Pacers back.
And we're talking about advantages, Rhett. That's a disadvantage. The Knicks are good at that, and that's a problem for the Pacers. And we just got off track, but I really wanted to type out what I think the matchups are going to be. Please give me another advantage.
Another advantage, I think, is Ben Mathurin.
I love it.
Because the Knicks don't have another player like that. As far as offense goes, the Pacers have Ty and Pascal and then Nembhard, right? So that's great. The Knicks have Brunson and then Towns and then McHale. And then they don't really have another ball handler, shot creator. Like, OG's been pretty good, but not really shot creating as much.
Deuce is in the middle. Deuce finishes, but he's more so a finisher.
Right. And that's where Mathurin comes to play to me. If for some reason the Knicks can bog the Pacers down, like, I think Mathurin has been the catalyst, the turning point for a couple games this postseason that the Pacers probably wouldn't have won if he did not do what he did, which was play Ben Mathurin ball and impact the game in his way, and now you start the comeback. And so I think he's going to be pretty huge, because it also kind of seems like he's being quite the irritant, and I'm just curious how that plays out.
Yeah, the big irritant from last year, DiVincenzo's gone. What's going to happen? How's it going to go this year? Also, like, people keep talking about last year's series and like the Knicks are better. Like, Dante, did he miss a 3 in that series? Like, don't get me wrong. I agree the Knicks are better than the team that the Pacers played the playoffs last year, but like, that's a big loss from that series.
Yeah. I mean,
he was King Irritant though.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. So Mathurin's fascinating to me. I already went through this, but like, we've seen it throughout the playoffs. They're putting him on key guys for his on-ball defense. I think he's going to get reps guarding Jalen Brunson. That's going to be important. And if it's going to happen at some point, maybe lots of points, the Knicks pace will win out. When that happens, he is so important.
Yep.
So important, right?
Yep.
Because as good as, as much as that will stink for the Pacers have to fight through that pace issue, he can score in those settings. And I don't think then how often will he be on the floor and like one of Anunoby or Bridges like, we have to take Mathurin, right? Maybe that does happen where he's on the floor without Haliburton and Siakam or something, but there's a lot of times where he'll be out there where he'll have a matchup. He's like, I can score on that guy. I'm not saying they should be like, yes, let's force feed Ben Mathurin, but like that game 3 against the Cavs on zone, and Ben Mathurin was like, great, Darius Garland, come here. I'm just gonna put you under the rim and score. So there will be moments that he'll be very important, and there's not a great answer for that.
Right. Yeah, it's just like the cross matching and being able to take advantage of. That's one of the things that I think the Pacers are a lot better suited for, unless Karl-Anthony Towns can be an all NBA player in this series rather than like just a kind of a starting center or like borderline all-star, rather than, what they brought him in there to be. Dante DiVincenzo last year, 43% from 3 on over 8 attempts per game. He shot better from 3 than 2. So no, he did not miss. But no, it's so it's going to be really hard to know. There's a world where Siakam at the 5 ends up just being an option, because the Pacers
wouldn't shock me at all.
They have Mathurin out there, and it's like, okay, cool. OG, Neesmith, go smoke each other, and Mathurin, we're just out there kind of switching almost everything and hoping for the best. And I don't know. And that kind of comes back to the options that Carlisle has at his disposal that I'm not sure that Tibbs does. But I think the top players for the Knicks they have the potential to be more dominant than the top players from the Pacers.
You just mentioned something interesting. I thought about small ball in this series. Again, I think Thomas Bryant's going to be the first answer to the front court option. That's fine. Yep. But we already talked about why I thought about it. And that is the exact moment if Mitchell Robinson comes in and Haliburton's on the floor and the Pacers are like, crap, where are we putting Haliburton? What if the answer doesn't matter where they put Haliburton? The answer is they bring in Obi for Myles. And then it's like, wait, who's this guy guarding? Who the front court guy's guarding? Oh, crap, they're scoring a bunch themselves. We have to bring in a defensive guy. Oh, Ty guard that guy now. Like, it's not that easy. The Knicks don't have so many options that's like an easy response for them. But that's a way to counter, to say, screw it, we don't care. Like, we'll fight our best, but we'll do this too. I don't know. I find that all very interesting. This whole series, the matchups are as confusing, I think, as any series I've ever seen. And so that's why I wanted to go through and list who I thought would be guarding who, just so I could see like what is actually an advantage. Who do I think is going to have a good time? And it was not easy to do.
And we just talked about the Knicks only play 7 guys, and we still couldn't figure out who the matchups are going to be.
Yeah.
But I heard
they'll play 8. Like they'll probably play campaign at times. They'll probably play a 2 at times, but they play like 5 to 7 minutes a game. It's funny. I was about to say, they probably don't swing a game at that level like campaign literally did, but like not very often.
It was 14 minutes for that game, so like I don't think we see 14 minutes of campaign. But if he's
that's like almost double or more than double the rest of it.
Yes, it sure is. I heard, I think it was Sam Vecini talking about it. It's like how the Pacers run on makes, so that even if they put a player like Mitchell Robinson in, and he's crashing the offensive glass, there's a chance that the Pacers still beat them down the floor, and that is going to be a really fascinating wrinkle to see how much the Knicks can how effective they can be on the offensive glass, and then be able to contain the Pacers running. Because if you get those 2 points, that's great, but now Aaron Nesmith streaking down the floor and pass, Myles trail 3. Like you're gonna lose that matchup. And I don't know what you said. You had another advantage for me and maybe a question.
I did. No, it was Cat. It was who does Cat guard?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Started.
Yeah. We talked about it for so long with no answers, and I forgot the question.
Yeah, it's my fault. No, I've run through all my big ones. So unless you have any more you want to dive into, I'm very happy with where you've gotten.
No. My pace, and depth, and that's basically it.
Yeah, I really wanted to run through the matchups. It's going to be so complicated. I'm so excited.
Do you think Madison Square Garden is as much a home court advantage early in the series as what Cambridge is?
It's a big deal. I've told this story before, but just another time for people who might be new Locked On Pacers listeners right now or this year. I've been to 20-ish NBA arenas, and I'd never been to the Garden until last year. And people always said, "Oh, you're gonna love it. It's different." And I kind of rolled my eyes, like, "Shut up! Like, it's an NBA arena. How different can it really be?" Oh yeah, it is. It is different. It's really cool. Everything's like, it's not even glitzy and glamoury cool. It's just like the most epic version of like what you think about of the NBA with like who's there and the organ and the way you get into the arena and like it's up high in the building and all this. It's really cool. It is really cool. So it is actually a thing. Like it's not a dumb question when people are like, "What? Like, can you guys handle playing in the Garden?" So. But the Pacers surely figured it out by the end of that series.
Yes, they did. I will say, I think one minor advantage that the Pacers do have that I just thought of is that when the Pacers get emotional, they generally are like they're kind of fueled by it. Totally. Whereas when Karl Anthony Towns gets emotional, he
whistle blows
is kind of a detriment. Somebody's getting run over. And it's likely going to be a Pacer. And so that's going to be interesting to see is like the mind games, as DeAndre Hunter would indicate.
The mind games, the pace, the depth, the everything. I can't wait. It's going to be an awesome series. Rhett, this was a blast. Thank you for the time as always. Where can people find you? And the things you'll be saying about the Pacers, which is unfortunately in less places than it used to be.
Yeah. Life continues to I keep saying it gets crazy, and then
Rhett keeps having good things happen in his personal life that make it harder for him to waste his time with me.
Yeah. That's what I told my wife. I was like, you know what? Tony's gonna stop asking if I don't actually get on one of these podcasts. It's like it's been
probably hates me.
I've canceled like 3 times in the last couple of weeks, but no, it's good. You can just find me on Twitter at Rhett_Bauer. I'm sure I will have plenty of thoughts about the Pacers. A lot of them will probably revolve around whether or not Jalen Brunson is getting a ridiculous whistle. But no, it's gonna be an exciting series, and I appreciate you having me on to preview it.
And quietly say under my breath that Jalen Brunson deserves more foul calls than people think he does. Okay, on that note, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Tony R. Reese. This podcast is at Locked On Pacers on Instagram and Twitter. Back tomorrow, previewing Game 1, just me, about things I'll be very curious about, why Game 1 continues to be the most interesting game of every series to me, and so much more. Thank you all for listening. See ya very soon.